Now, for more on the European debt woes, let's bring in Al Fullerton, Senior Equities Broker at Aliom Financial. Al, look at the spreads even amongst nations who haven't been mentioned in that report. Portugal on the 10-year yield, 7%. That was where Greece and Ireland sat before they said, that's too high, we can't afford that. ECB, IMF, come help.
Yeah, no, those levels, as we were just speaking about then, are getting to the point when they're going to have to stick their hand up and say, look, you know, we are going to need some assistance there. You know, looking through the 10-year, Ireland 9.04, Spain 5.2. You know, you look at the Germany 10-year Bunds, you know, 2.7, the real benchmark there for the European community. So it really is at a level now when they're going to have to start looking at you know, alternative measures there to actually get these down there, because austerity measures are all well and good, but you know, there's only so many tax cuts and wage reductions and making people work until they're 100 that you can actually do until you know, you run out of firepower.
The problem is that Reuters analysts, 35 out of 50, said Portugal will have to go the way of Greece and Ireland.
Yes.
But you're not getting leadership in these nations that is admitting it until after the fact. Does that really tell you that they've embraced the idea of where they're at, the reality of it? I
think that they are living in somewhat of a denial that when you admit that, you have to admit that you haven't run the country correctly. You know, we've seen what happened in Ireland when they've taken the hand out there, and now the Greens are obviously calling for a snap election. You're seeing horrendous turmoil in the political field. You know, heads have to roll, and then that's coupled with, as I said before, the austerity measures coming in. So your general public are furious. The political situation is in disarray. You're borrowing cash. It's a sort of perfect storm in terms of how not to run a country.
The other thing is you've got a regional election coming up in Ireland now. If Fianna Fáil, the governing party, lose that, how do they get a new austerity budget passed? It's all like sort of knife-edge territory.
Oh, look, I mean, in terms of the Irish political situation, I mean, I'm not the political
all right, well, tell me about this one then. As a principle, if you're an alcoholic and you're swilling away while going to AA meetings, it means you've really not got the message. You're not even sold on reform.
This is very true. You have to stick your hand up and say, my name's Ireland, we have a debt problem.
Yeah, but money markets don't believe they've put their hand up. They've been sort of foisted up by others.
Yes.
And so what good will it do?
Look, I think it's a case, and we may have seen this, even look over the US, your last measure, what is the last thing you have to do? There are no other alternatives. The US, you know, the quantitative easing, QE2, was really seen as the last measure. There was huge pushback, there was negative press, there were debates going through, but it was the last measure to take, and this is the same in these bailouts over in the European Union, is that it is the last possible measure they can have. They can implement these austerity measures, which can only go so far.
But they'll do it again. Greece has been bailed out before.
They have, but they have, you know, maybe they should start reviewing their taxation policies over there.
Ireland has said even, we won't touch the 12% corporate tax rate. We cannot touch it. It's attracted 600 US corporates. Or 6,000, and it's inviolate.
No, and there are components which can't be changed, and that's going to be the same in each of these countries. There are areas which need to be resolved, and areas that have to maintain there for the longevity and the sustainability of the country as a whole. But I think in terms of the recognition there, it's actually it's far better for the European Union as a whole that they own up, they fess up, they say we need to access some of this 750 odd billion euros that are sitting there, which ECB, you know, Weber's suddenly come out saying, look, this might not actually be enough.
Double it.
You know, double, why not? Triple it, you know, while you're going for it. So.
When it's someone else's money, it's very easy to do that.
It is very easy to do.
Let's talk about when the rubber hits the road, a company like Harvey Norman that is in Ireland. You know, Jerry had for a long while been saying, this has been the millstone around our neck, then they got themselves out of recession. Is that all game over again for a company of that stature that's still in that space? How does it kind of make hay?
Are you saying with Harvey Norman, should they look at it?
Well, what's your view? Yeah.
Oh, look, I think that first of all, I never saw the synergy really to move over there in the first place. I think it was an interesting play to make. Obviously, they had
wasn't it the fact that, you know,
their reasons, and
they did the booming property market. People needed to furnish their houses.
Sure, I mean, but there were many other countries perhaps closer to home that also needed their houses furnished. But look, at the same time, I think that we've seen this with someone like a NAB and with their their interest in the UK, and that's really been of concern to them with Clydesdale and Yorkshire. And so certainly if you've got exposure to these countries where there's a huge amount of uncertainty, we're talking political, horrendous sovereign risk, we're talking in terms of cutting people's wages, these austerity measures. If you're there in a consumer discretionary capacity, it's not a great space to be in.
Something for Jerry to think about over his Christmas break. I know you're not really taking one, but how will you trade today, Al, briefly, finally?
Oh, look, I think that obviously we've taken a somewhat of a lacklustre lead. There was nothing out of the US. S&P futures showing up 0.5% there. The Euro markets are up between 0.5 and 0.8%.
So what will you buy?
What will I be buying? I would be actually sitting there watching the market long cash today. I wouldn't be a hero towards the end of this week.
Right.
I would be maintaining my stance, which I'll be looking at the cash there. I'll be sitting on the hold.
Fortune favours the brave, Al. Okay, you're going to be sitting tight.
I will be sitting tight today.
Have a good trading day.
Thank you very much,
Appreciate
Carson.
it.
Cheers.
Al Fullerton there from Aliom Financial.